Hello, PJTV fans. I'm Andrew Klavan, and my co-host is a man who makes millions in speaking fees. Unfortunately, he's paid in drachma. It's Bill Whittle. And Bill, your question today comes from the PJTV producers. We put 100 of them in a room and let them type for 72 hours, and this accidentally came out. Why has ISIS been successful recruiting young Americans? Good question, I have to admit.
It's the same reason that they're successful recruiting young Europeans and young men in the Middle East, and the answer is because they believe in something.
Yeah, you're right.
Because they believe in something, and they believe in it passionately, and they're ready to die for it. And what they don't realize is that young men especially are just belief modules. There's a significant subset of young male humans that are wired to fight and die for something that they believe in. And it doesn't really matter what. I mean, you really think about it, there's a big, strong reason for that evolutionarily. If you've got the genes that code for young men at the peak strength, when they're strongest, they're fastest, they're smartest, they're quickest, and you have a group of young men who don't feel like they need to be warriors, and you have a group of men that do feel this genetic need to go out and be warriors, guess which one's going to survive and pass those genes down? And if you don't understand that, you don't understand any of this, because this is what causes conflict. You can always find these warriors for any cause you want to. And the question is, how do you manipulate people, older people, how do older men generally historically, but you know, Hillary's coming, so we got to open up the gates for her manipulation for forces of evil. But how do you manipulate the young warrior pool into doing what you want politically? That's really the history of conflict and wars in nations. And this is why this kind of feminist, progressive attitude of we've got to breed the warriors out of our system so that we'll have peace has got it exactly backwards. They're not breeding the warriors out of their system, so we better be prepared to field some of our own. Now, as it turns out, when you get into the mechanics of actual fighting effectiveness, you find to your amazement that nobody fights harder than volunteers who want to be free and who want to come home. You would think it'd be the other way around. You think these fanatics would be better soldiers than we are, but they're not. They're not. They believe in death, and they believe in the idea of glorious death, and so did the Japanese. And we cleaned their clocks, because guys who want to come home and who want to fight and die for their buddies do a better job than people who want to die for Allah or for the emperor. But if we don't understand that it's a belief system that's causing this, then we're in trouble. What we need is, in order to fight ISIS, and I don't mean on the battlefield, I mean just culturally. In Great Britain, for example, if people believed in the Anglican Church as much as they believed in Islam, then you wouldn't have Islam taking over Great Britain.
That's right. I couldn't look. You know, Pericles said this. He said, people will fight for freedom more than they will fight for the emperor. And
I said it too. He stole it from me.
He said it first, I think. But he dressed funnier, so that was. But it does involve not just belief. It involves higher belief, I think.
Correct.
I do not think you can fight for our way of life. I always hate that phrase, our way of life. Our way of life happens to be because we're rich and we made a lot of money and all that stuff. That's great, but that's not what we believe in. We don't believe in our wealth. We believe in our freedom, and we don't believe in our freedom because it's nice or fun. We believe in our freedom because it is inherent in the dignity of man. The Supreme Court thinks that the government gives us our dignity, but we believe that our dignity is given to us by our Creator. And if you don't believe in that Creator and you don't believe in that dignity, and I'm not even talking about individuals, I'm talking about a society, and you have no basis for the things that you're fighting for. And there's a lot of reason not to go out and fight. Why should you go out and get killed if you don't believe in anything? I mean, why would you choose suffering and sacrifice over pleasure and peace? There's just no reason to do it. It's amazing. The left, really, it is the left, has been working to bleed the belief and ideology of freedom out of this country for a long time. They may be close to doing it. I hope not, but they may be close to doing it. I totally understand why ISIS is attractive.
And here's the part that never gets mentioned, and this should be the headline, right? Let's say there's 5% of the population that is willing to fight and die for a cause. There's probably 30 or 40% of that same population that will get in with the same ranks with those guys so long as there's no cost to themselves, right? In other words, hey man, I want to be a part of ISIS, and I want to wave the flag, and I want to stand behind a machine gun. They don't think they're going to get hurt or killed.
Right.
If you start killing these people enthusiastically, not only do you take out their core warriors, you suddenly disincline those people who think it's kind of a fun sightseeing trip. And you find this all the time. You know, the membership in the Nazi Party skyrocketed after they came to power, not before they came to power. Once they came to power and it was okay to be a Nazi, and in fact, not just okay, it was kind of the thing to do, everybody tracks in there. The time you stop the Nazis is when you've got the SA and Hitler and Himmler and Goebbels and a few of these other clowns and 30 hardcore survivors. You take those 30 people out, there is no Nazi Party. By the time you get to 1933, I think you had 4, 5, 6 million people just in the SA alone. Right. And then success breeds success. Yep. And you can't let them get to the point where they can think, I'm going to go join ISIS because what's the worst that could happen to me? The worst that can happen to you is an American Hellfire missile is going to sneak up behind you and you're going to be splattered all over your community. That's what these people need to understand.
It really is sad that we have forgotten so quickly that evil has to be fought at the beginning, not later on when it engulfs the world in flames. That's all we have time for today. Let us know what questions you'd like answered, or just sign up for ISIS by filling out the application form below. For Bill Whittle and PJTV, I'm Andrew Klavan. I'm actually joking about that, so please stop doing that right now. Thanks for watching.